Sonic the Hedgehog. This blue menace has been speeding across screens for decades, and somehow in all that time, no one has explained how this little cobalt goblin actually got his speed. Some say it's the shoes, maybe it's his home dimension, maybe it's the power rings. Some say he was born with it, maybe it's Maybelline. Personally, I think the explanation is an unholy cocktail of crack cocaine and a love for the game, but I digress. What I can tell you is that this creature is a walking, spinning, hypervelocity violation of the Geneva Convention. Every step Sonic takes is another mistake. But as far as we know, there's nothing protecting him or you from the physics involved. In reality, every footstep is a crime against humanity. Sonic the Hedgehog, beloved, iconic little blue guy, burst onto the scene in 1991, courtesy of Sega, true legends of the gaming world. And sure, it's exactly that, a game. I could leave it at that. I could accept the fiction. I could let it go, but I won't. I demand internal consistency. Speaking of consistency, make sure you don't miss a single video by hitting like, subscribe, and maybe even that little bell thing. Or don't, I'm not your dad, do what you want. I demand answers, and because the universe refuses to provide them, I'm doing what any sane, well-adjusted person with access to unemployment and maths does. I'm going to model what would actually happen when Sonic genuinely gotta go fast. Honestly, Sonic X was one of my favourite shows as a kid, and I think you can actually still watch it in the UK on Netflix. Anyway, I wrote a little bit about it here in this paragraph, so if you want to read that, please feel free to do so. Now, the reason why we're all here, what would actually happen if Sonic really went that fast? So what exactly just happened? Let's roll it back and see. This skit here is meant to show you what it would look like if Sonic ran by you at Mach 1, commonly known as the speed of sound. Each footstep would be the equivalent of 6 hand grenades going off. You might as well have just stepped on an IED. The speed of sound is about 343 meters per second in certain conditions. So let's put this into perspective. Considering a good human reaction time of 200 milliseconds, that gives me 800 milliseconds to process what's going on, determine it's a threat, and get out of the way, which is impossible. So before you could even process it, Sonic made sure that regardless of whether your pronouns were he/her, you are now a was/were. Truly a hedgehog of equality, and it's very based. So to get an understanding of how some of these forces come about, let's look at it from Sonic's perspective. So Sonic travels all the way from the bench that I'm currently sat on to where I was in this skit in just 1 second. So let's have a look at what that looks like. It pains me to know that I'll never truly be that fast. Anyway, there's a reason I did this. In every regard but weight and height, I can use myself as an analogue for Sonic, because what we see in media is not really consistent. Taking these assumptions, we can do some calculations. So let's do some research to find out Sonic's weight and height. Then we can use the video of myself to find out some impulse, which will give us the analogue for the forces generated by Sonic. It'd be stupid not to take the wiki as gospel here, so what I found was Sonic's height is 100 centimeters and Sonic's weight is 35 kilograms. And yes, before you get on at me, I know that weight is technically a force that should be in newtons, and what I actually found was mass. The equations we're using are going to use mass, so it's going to come out fine anyway. On a bad day, Sonic's going Mach 1, which is the speed of sound, which I mentioned earlier, and we now know the mass as well. So all I need to do now is find out the time it takes Sonic to go from 0 to Mach 1, and that should give us our total force. In a lot of video games, Sonic doesn't really appear to be moving at the speed of sound, but in a lot of other media like Sonic X, he instantly accelerates. So for the sake of consistency, we're going to go back to the video that I shot of myself going super fast, and we're going to use that as our acceleration time. I made the video such that after 1 frame I should already be at the speed of sound. The video was shot at 30 frames per second, and therefore that means 1/30 is our change in time. So the force produced in this starting scene here is just Sonic's velocity times by his mass divided by the time that we just got. Okay, so now we found a force at which Sonic blasts off at. The force is heavily dependent upon the time frame, so because I chose 1/30 as the time, it actually made the force a little bit less than predicted, which is more like a hand grenade rather than 6. But who knows, Sonic could be accelerating faster. So now all we need to do is find out what the maintained force must be to overcome drag. And that's going to be a little bit more complicated. In theoretical physics, there's a joke saying that basically anything can be assumed to be a spherical object, such as a cow. In this case, Sonic is a spherical object when he goes fast, he turns into a ball, so I don't even need to make that joke. So in order to calculate the amount of force that is needed to continuously keep running at these speeds, we need to use the drag equation. I can use a rough sphere's coefficient of drag, and I can also then use a circle as the surface area for the body, which is making my life so much easier. So there's only one more thing to do, and that's to find the radius. I'm going to take this as half of Sonic's height. I'm doing this because I'm assuming that when he scrunches up into that ball, it's half of the height. So we take our drag equation and plug in the numbers, and we get 26,400 newtons. The drag equation includes something called dynamic pressure, which is actually a really important equation, as it will tell us how strong the pressure is inside the shockwave. The dynamic pressure that we're actually looking at here is 0.72 bar, which is enough to burst your eardrums and rupture your lungs, which in most cases is going to be fatal. So the little skit that I did in the beginning is actually pretty accurate, apart from maybe the bones breaking. But that all depends on how fast Sonic actually runs by you. Obviously, as Sonic is running by at Mach whatever the fuck, it's going to cause a fair bit of damage around him. One of the problems being that the concrete underneath his feet is going to fracture and shrapnel is going to go everywhere. But thanks to drag and gravity, this only has a limited range. Anyone around a 20 meter range is probably going to get deafened by the sonic boom and maybe get hit by some nasty shrapnel. Around the 100 meter mark though, you're going to be pretty damn safe. You might get hit by a little pellet of concrete. The real problem is when he first sets off, but that initial starting time is what matters the most. This is where most of that explosive power comes from. Any unfortunate goober standing near him is going to be copy and pasted onto the wall like a Banksy. Inside out. And all this is for the lowest estimate of Sonic. There have been times in media where he has gone well above Mach 1 to Mach 5. During Sonic Unleashed, apparently it was calculated that he went 9 times the speed of light. And when he's in supersonic mode, that golden hue, technically his speed is infinite. Infinite speed means infinite energy, and hence that makes Sonic quite literally maybe one of the strongest video game characters of all time, as he's not using any other tricks that I know of to make himself go faster than the speed of light. He's not bending space-time, he is purely just breaking physics with the power of will, which is like One Punch Man levels of power. Him moving at the speed of light through the atmosphere, which is apparently something he has done, would be the equivalent of like a 100 megaton nuke going off. Anyways, if you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment to let me know what you want to see next. And this won't be the last we see of Sonic either. I do want to do a video on what kind of things that Sonic himself would experience, so be assured that one day there will be a part 2. At the end of it all, just remember, you gotta be like Sonic. Chase your dreams, you gotta go fast. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you later.